Battles Missouri in the midway. Folks try to spring the upset on Stanford. Early on, it was all Stanford. Peter Sauer's layup gave the Cardinal a 9-0 lead. Then Mark Madsen took over.
He had a huge game, 23 points, 13 boards, finishing on the alley-oop inside on that basket.
Second half, Alcorn State mounts the comeback. Three-pointer Wallace Harris made the score 49-44 Stanford.
But then Carl Jones going to hit the turnaround jumper. Greg, we're tied at 55.
But then Stanford outscored Alcorn State 14-2 thereafter. Madsen will lay it in to put the Cardinal up 62-55. They go on to win it by a score of 69-57. They advanced to play Gonzaga, which knocked off the Golden Gophers. In Denver, Iowa advanced, and so did the Arkansas Razorbacks. In Indianapolis, Auburn and Oklahoma State will meet on Saturday by virtue of their victories today. Creighton pulled off the upset of Louisville, and the Blue Jays will take on the second-seeded Maryland Terps. And the road to the Final Four will continue after this word from your local station. For the tip of Samford St. John's, for those of you slated to see Pennsylvania against Florida, we'll get you to Seattle for the tip of that game at 7:55. Others will start in Indianapolis with the game between Murray State and Ohio State. For those of you expecting to see New Mexico, Missouri, we'll get you out to that 7:50 tip at McNichols Arena. Enjoy the games, everyone, right here on CBS.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, the Intel Pentium 3 processor, Charles Schwab, and by Bud Light.
CBS Sports welcomes you to Indianapolis, Indiana. Next year, the city will host the Final Four. Tonight, the RCA Dome plays host to first-round action in the South region, as the number 4 seed, Ohio State, takes on the number 13 seed, the Racers of Murray State, the champions of the Ohio Valley Conference. Later tonight, UCLA takes on Detroit. Earlier today, here in Indianapolis, Auburn and Oklahoma State were the winners. Hi, everyone. Sean McDonough along with Bill Raftery. It's great to have you with us. Murray State, no stranger to this NCAA tournament. They've won the Ohio Valley 8 of the last 12 years, but a great story at Ohio State this year. They've won 15 games more than they did a year ago, led by Jim O'Brien and Scoonie Penn.
Two outstanding backcourts. The big concern, I think, for Murray State is containing Scoonie Penn and also the pressure, which can be relentless by Ohio State.
Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups. For the Racers of Murray State, Isaac Spencer, Rod Murray, Dwayne Virgil, Marlon Towns, and Aubrey Reese. And for Ohio State, the great backcourt, Michael Redd and Scoonie Penn. Jason Singleton is a forward. Ken Johnson, the center, and a different starting lineup tonight with Brian Brown starting in place of John Sanderson, who struggled lately. John Cal was the lead official with Jim Haney and Tom Harrington. Ohio State in white, Murray State in blue. First meeting ever between these two teams, and it's underway as Ken Johnson controlled the tip for Ohio State.
And Sean McDonough, Murray State goes minimum.
And you are grateful as always.
We certainly put a nice spin out.
Michael Redd, their leading scorer at 19.5. A great spin move. Jim O'Brien said yesterday, Redd is the hardest player to guard inside the three-point line that he has ever seen.
He makes a lot of defenders see Redd with embarrassment. I mean, it's just a gorgeous move. High praise, too, by Coach O'Brien.
He's seen a lot of terrific players in his days in the Big East at Boston College. And now here in the Big Ten with Ohio State, Rod Murray. Ohio State fans wanted to travel. Instead, they have a violation on the end line.
How about this little move early in the game, huh? Would that make you think twice now? They're defensively solid, and Towns, one of the premier defenders they feel in the country.
That should be an interesting matchup. Sylvester Anderson, the Murray State coach, said the strength of our team defensively is our backcourt, and Ohio State's strength offensively is its backcourt. Scoonie Penn threw up an air ball, caught by Towns. He gave it to Aubrey Reese. Entry pass deflected away and out of bounds into the Ohio State bench. Good defense by Jason Singleton. We'd like to remind Those of you expecting to see the New Mexico-Missouri game will be getting you out to the West region in Denver shortly for the start of that game. Tip-off will be 7:50 Eastern time.
One of those unforced, not doing a good job faking and stepping and going. And you've got to contain turnover and the nerves early, I think, particularly for Murray State, Sean.
Two quick turnovers committed by the Racers. Murray State in the tournament for the 3rd straight year. And for the 10th time overall. Foul missed by Singleton. Here come the Racers. They are appropriately named. They like to push it up and down. Much of their success based on speed, on hustle, on aggressiveness. But they keep turning it over 3 times now. And there's Scooty Penn missing a layup. And the tip wouldn't go for Michael Redd.
What a nice look by Brown to the middle.
Well, it is still 2-0. Spencer, first team All-Ohio Valley Kings player. There's the first bucket for Dwayne Virgil.
And the one concern for Jim O'Brien, their center gets in trouble. Greg Johnson has to contain himself. That's why he wasn't as aggressive on the jump shot.
Brown to Red right in front of the Murray State bench. Singleton. Penn, excellent passing. Brown, ball for an offensive foul.
That's one where Scooney was a little unselfish. He could have done some damage, but not afraid to make the extra pass.
Sylvester Anderson, in his first season as Murray State head coach, and in his first season as a college head coach, and he just turned 62. Good for him. Long-time assistant at the Division I level, long-time high school coach with great success in 2 states. Finally got the chance when Mark Gottfried left after last year to head to Alabama and become the head coach of the Crimson Tide.
All those years as an assistant at Auburn and Georgia, so patient, and now enjoying the heck out of this position.
From the baseline, the shot from Spencer at the side of the backboard. Still 2-2, nearly 3 minutes in. You can see both teams look a little bit nervous. Jim O'Brien's squad has reason to be. This is the first appearance in the tournament for Ohio State since 1992. Last year for O'Brien, 8 wins. This season, 23. Biggest turnaround in Division I this year. Red, short with the pull-up.
Everything but the mistake and not the delivery.
Murray pulls up for Murray State. Got a hand on the miss. Tipped it to Virgil for the basket. Let me remind those of you heading for the New Mexico-Missouri game. We'll get you there in time for the tip in Denver at 7:50. A little less than 5 minutes for you. My watch, Penn for 3.
And they use that flare screen frequently. Will step in and hide behind the picker.
As compared to the picky.
Yeah. Picky's the guy who gets free.
Rod Murray, he's a junior from Montgomery, Alabama. He gave it to Spencer. Jump stop, and the shot rattled out. Tight rims here today. We've noticed that watching 3 games now. Brown in transition. Block called this time. And the foul will be on Rod Murray.
The ability to use these little screen shots, something that I think Scooty Penn learned back east. How about that? But also did so well at Boston College. And talking about being relaxed, he's been in the tournament before. And Jim O'Brien, reading some comments regarding Scooty, saying that how fortunate the people of Columbus are that a guy was Rookie of the Year in the Big East, MVP in the Big East tournament, sophomore, was willing to leave and come to Ohio State. And the way this year has turned out, they're all thankful for it.
What an impact his departure from Boston College and arrival at Ohio State has had on 2 programs. The Boston College situation on Mass. Al Skinner and his staff working to put it back together again. And really the only major difference in player personnel for Ohio State over a year ago is Scooty Penn.
Well, great for one program and deleterious to another.
Your SAT word for the night. Thank you very much.
I will not spell it. Establishing inside, I think, is of major importance. And another turnover
Here comes Brown at the play.
I don't get down that low.
4 turnovers committed by Murray State. Timeout, 15:36 left in the first half. Ohio State by 1. Here in Indianapolis, Ohio State leads by 1 early. Let's bring in Michelle Tafoya.
All right, Sean. Well, Sylvester Anderson has received a lot of attention for being a rookie head coach at the age of 62, and he told me what he enjoys most about that attention is that when people finally meet him, they can't believe he's 62. But he acknowledges, quote, "For a man of my age to get an opportunity to coach this team is a blessing. It's been a great season. It was a long time coming, and this has been the most exciting year of my life," Sean.
It was great to hear him say that yesterday. It has been the most exciting year of his life. A lot of pressure, too, because they've had incredible success in terms of the one-loss record at Murray State in recent years. So he was expected to come in and win big right away. 3 straight NCAAs. The condescending look he gave me when he referred to age, by the way. He said, "I'm in great shape to do things I did 20 years ago and better." And that's why he says he doesn't even think about being 62. But it's not an issue to him. He's in as good a shape as he was when he was in his 40s. And here's what they got to establish. I think get in here, cause some problems for the inside defense. 3 wouldn't go from way outside from Marlon Towns. Michael Redd on the push. Scooty Penn for 3. Rebound by Johnson, but he was guilty of a push-off. Well, it certainly was exciting how the Racers got back to the NCAA tournament by winning the Ohio Valley Conference Championship game against Southeast Missouri State.
Down to 1, puts up the running jumper.
That was Aubrey Reese end-to-end with a buzzer beater as Murray State beat Southeast Missouri State, better known as SEMO, 62-61.
and what did he say to the coach? "Let me have it, I'll win it." And he did.
That's Dwayne Virgil. Just seconds before, Southeast Missouri hit a long 3 to take a 1-point lead. On the possession prior to that for Murray State, Reese had made another acrobatic shot, so he had 2 big shots in the last 30 seconds or so of that game. Here come the Racers. Reese end-to-end again, but this time the shot wouldn't drop. Once again, here's Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Sean and Billy, Isaac Spencer on the Murray State sideline has been pacing quite a bit behind the bench. He's suffering back spasms, which is a new injury for him. It seems to be bothering his low back and his hamstrings as well. It could be some dehydration. He's had the flu of late. They stretched him out, walked him out, and it looks like he's getting ready to come back in. Back to you.
And that would be big if he can't play well, because as Sylvester Anderson said to us yesterday, Spencer is our marquee player.
And his speed and elevation, it's so important to have that back and the ability to get up and down the floor. I mean, he is their heart and soul, I think. And Scooty Penn, who spoke to both of us before the game, was commenting on how he runs the floor. It's extraordinary. He runs like the little guys.
Free throws by Reese give Murray State an 8-5 lead. Murray State, the number 13 seed, coming with a record of 27-5. They've won 3 in a row and 6 of the last 7. Ohio State, the number 4 seed, 23-8, eliminated by Illinois in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. 4 points now for Michael Redd.
The Drake, the magician, he's amazing in that lane.
Foul counted, and a chance for a 3-point play. No problems with the back there for Isaac Spencer.
He's wincing as he's walking, though, Sean. Not as loose and the pained expression. But how about this? I mean, the comment by Jim O'Brien, so well taken because of his ability to break the defense down and make shots, but they need some inside points to turn around Jay on the baseline.
And the foul on Jason Singleton, his first the team has scored. The free throw missed. And rebounded by George Reese, a junior just off the bench, number 40. He's from Columbus, playing for his hometown university.
Super screen down and the ability to bounce.
Redd missed the baseline jumper. There's Reese with the putback that wouldn't go. Another tip missed. And now a foul and a reach in on Redd. And that's 2 quick fouls. Or check that. That's the first foul on Redd. For complete tournament coverage, live scores and updated brackets in the tournament tracker, go to cbs.sportsline.com or on America Online. Enter keyword CBS Sportsline. Aubrey Reese fed the ball to Marlon Towns. Now Dwayne Virgil. Virgil almost retreated into the backcourt there.
He's pretty good with the ball. You saw him take the deep jumper before. They do a lot of inside screens.
Towns, who transferred from the University of Arkansas, where he started as a freshman, missed a three. And the rebound controlled by Boban Savovic, the freshman from Yugoslavia. There are 2 more Yugoslavians coming next year to the Ohio State program.
They feel so good about their recruiting. He's a real solid player, they feel. And one of those small change on Reese there. Kind he doesn't need, particularly when he's going to play the guards like this.
And that's 2 on Aubrey Reese. And 2 team fouls. He's waving the bench away. He wants to stay in. And he is going to stay in for the moment. It's Virgil who goes out for the substitution, and Marvin Gaye comes in. Penn bounced in the lane and was brushed, and a foul called on Murray State. Marvin Gaye didn't take long to pick up a foul, his first, the team's third.
He finishes strong, Marvin Gaye. Tough defender with his checking out ability, but I'm amazed they can wave off the age group on the bench. We got Hodges, Hatfield, who've been around, and of course Tevester. They feel confident in his ability not to foul again.
Red shut off on the drive attempt by Gaye. Murray State by 3. Approaching 8 minutes played in the first half. A lot of Buckeye fans here made the drive over to Indianapolis from Columbus. Singleton. Good move, and then he missed the shot. And Gaye controls.
Sean, they've got to feel good in the sense of getting good shots, but not tipping it home.
Reese lost the handle, got it back. His pass deflected out of bounds. Timeout with 11:57 remaining in the first half. Jim O'Brien and the Buckeyes down by 3. 11:57 left in the first half. Murray State leads Ohio State by 3. The Buckeyes shooting just 20% in the backcourt of Michael Redd, and Scoonie Penn has all of the Ohio State points.
3 for 15. They're getting decent shots, but not finishing trips. A lot of tips, a lot of inside plays. But I think on the other end, this is a pretty good Murray State team. If they establish slow, get anybody in foul trouble, they may have this game in control.
Murray State has never won a game against a Big Ten team. They are 0-9 all time against Big Ten opponents.
Ooh, change here on the timeout. Zone look. Jim always liked to match up a little Murray with a deep one.
And the shot wouldn't go for Rod Murray. Here's Savovic pushing it back the other way, and he was fouled on a reach-in. Fouls on Marlon Towns. His first. Beginning March 30th, Craig Kilborn brings his unique comedy style to CBS Late Night. He's the host of his own late night talk show. Catch the premiere of the Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn March 30th, right after David Letterman, right here on CBS.
Nice pass out of the 1-4. Penn with a find, and it's usually Red.
The Ohio State people talk about how well Red has dealt with the arrival of Scoonie Penn, because Scoonie's gotten so much credit for their turnaround, so much attention, whereas last year Red was the leading scorer in the Big Ten as a freshman. And Red says, hey, Scoonie's come in, he's been the man, and it's a great thing for all of us.
And they're winning, and there's a play maybe should have kept it, and not a bad foul on the leak out. Virgil all the way down the other end. It tells you about an attitude of a player when Red feels that way. Let's win. I don't care who gets all the adulation, all the success. Here's the penetration and then the baseline cut. Scoonie, so wise, so clever. Finding people. Great catch, and one of the terrific finishers you'll see in college basketball. Either hand, he can play on the ball, off the ball, and when he's on the ball, it's usually delivered to Michael Redd.
Colin Reese was his first and the team's 6th. The next one puts Ohio State over the limit nearly midway through the first half, and Murray State is still hanging on to a 1-point lead.
Ooh, got away with a walk.
We had the bench in an uproar for Ohio State. Fadeaway was missed. And Murray State controls. Good hustle into the corner. Spencer's pass blocked by the long arms of Ken Johnson. Simultaneous held ball, so they go to the arrow on this. and it'll be Murray State's possession. Oklahoma State won the first game of the day here. Syracuse never had the lead. Adrian Peterson, Desmond Mason, outstanding, combining for 49 points as the Cowboys held off a late Syracuse rally. Auburn, a close game for 10 minutes. They actually trailed at one point 12-9 before blowing out Winthrop 80-41. 12 Auburn players scored. Everybody dressed playing for Cliff Ellis. Here comes Justin Burdine into the game to give Aubrey Reese a rest with his 2 fouls.
Yeah, smart. They got a few minutes out of him now. Rest him. Once again, his own luck.
And the runner rejected. Ray Cunningham had it returned to sender.
By Ken Johnson, who got his hand on a pass before, that time blocked a shot.
Johnson's number 4 in Ohio State history in block shots. Spencer's shot rattled out. Virgil tipped it up, but he was over the back and called for the foul. Only Herb Williams, Brad Sellers, and Jim Smith have blocked more shots as a Buckeye than Ken Johnson.
Well, the good ones keep it in play. This almost starts a fast break if they can run it down. Guys have to be ready to react. Good play by Murray State to come up with it.
First foul on Virgil. 5-team fouls on the Racers, more than midway through the first half. A very low-scoring game, surprisingly so. Red.
Some well-designed plays to get him that basketball down screen, a little high pick, and then individual God-given talent.
Reds coming off a 32-point game against Illinois in their loss in the Big Ten semis on Saturday. Samovich the rebound. Ohio State with a 1-point lead in the ball.
He's very clever with the pill.
This is reminiscent of the first game of the day here when Peterson and Mason were doing all the scoring for Oklahoma State.
Nice dish, too.
Oh, and a rejection. Looked like it was going to be an easy dunk for Reese, and I believe it was Virgil who swatted it, and then Reese intercepted a bad pass.
And Red got his hands up to deflect it.
A little bit sloppy here in the early going. Murray State has turned it over 5 times. Reese on the baseline. Nicely done by George Reese.
And Scooty Penn getting the blow. He's not out for long. In fact, he's just getting up, Sean, coming into your screen. You've got to think the back problem is a concern. How is he going to react?
Finally, somebody else has scored other than Penn or Red for Ohio State. It's Reese, who started his collegiate career at South Florida, then went to junior college in Illinois before coming to his hometown University of Columbus. Spencer missed a fadeaway and couldn't save it in the corner. Scooty Penn's going to come back in for Ohio State. And Red gets a breather with a standing ovation from the fans behind the Buckeye bench.
Now, Jimmy O'Brien's club has done a nice job manufacturing points from other guys. Everybody knows the solid performers are going to be the guards, but once in a while they slip Reese inside. Hopefully Johnson keeps improving, gets some point down low.
So it's Penn, Savovich, Reese, Johnson, and Brown for Ohio State. Johnson. Johnson again. Reese also worked in there for a tip that wouldn't go. Here's Aubrey Reese for Murray State. Pestered all the way by Ryan Brown. Scooty Penn was telling us before the game that Brown in practice is an unbelievable defender and a real pest. He said, Ryan just locks me up in practice all the time.
Can't wait to play a game to get away from him.
Aubrey Reese. Got tipped around and controlled by Aaron Page. And that shot swatted again by Johnson. 2 blocks for Ken Johnson. 139 for his career. Penn short with the 3. And the rebound run down by Michael Floyd, a senior forward wearing number 3.
And that little give back by Savovich tells you how this team plays together. Giving Penn a good open look even though he didn't convert.
Shooting has been dreadful here in the first half. Page in the lane, really being harassed by Savovich. Reese, the runner.
Very confident guard. Good ability out. Sets up your dribbling ability. Right now, Ohio State taking them out of their flow. That's part of the problem for Murray State.
The Racers were 0 for the last 9 from the floor before that runner by Reese. And it's a 1-point game. The Buckeyes lead with 6:42 remaining in the first half. Reese between the legs dribble, trying to work on Virgil. Well done.
And that's one of the isolations. They have a nuance where they'll slip guys into position. Usually it's Red or Penn that can take their guy.
Reese being badgered all the way by Brian Brown. Now it's Cunningham to Virgil. Page into Floyd and back to Page. Good ball movement resulted in an open three. Now nobody back for Murray State. Penn coast to coast.
And Brown out there to compliment him, but all set up by superior defensive play.
No rotation back to defense from Murray State. Jim O'Brien encouraging them to really D up on Reese. Virgil scores underneath.
And the point guard once again distributing. Nice play as Audrey gets in the lane. Reese with the delivery.
Virgil has 8 of the 14 Murray State points. Virgil averages 11.5 a game. But over the last 3 games, he's averaged 18 points per game. Brian Brown out to Savovich. 3.
It always looks good when you drive, draw, kick, and somebody gets a little nylon.
Timeout, Murray State.
Well, the ability of the open floor all set up by great defense. And Scooney Penn had some help as Brown filled the other lane. They just do a great job turning your mistake into something positive at their end, Ohio State.
Emmy Award winner John LaRoquette returns to television as Royal Payne, an innkeeper with attitude. Don't miss the series premiere of Payne Monday after Raymond on CBS. Ohio State by 6. Largest lead of the game for the Buckeyes. Down to 5:10 remaining in the first half. Sean McDonough, Bill Raftery, Michelle Tafoya at the RCA Dome. Good defense. They deflected it out. Last touch by Marvin Gaye. 6 turnovers by Murray State. Now a full timeout. The Buckeyes still up by 6.
A tradition unlike any other. The Masters on Scoop.
Greg Gumbel and Clark Kellogg in New York. Ohio State with a 6-point lead on Murray State. We'll keep you updated at the bottom of your screen on that game and take you out to Key Arena in Seattle, where Penn and Florida are doing battle. And right now, the Quakers lead it by a score of 20-11.
They jumped out of the gate quickly, Greg. Made their first 3 3-point shots on the year. They shoot 39% from behind the arc. So that shouldn't have come as any surprise to Florida. Florida, one of the best in the nation in terms of making 3-pointers per game. They average 9 makes from behind the arc.
The Ivy League champions Penn, 5 of 5 from behind the arc, and Jed Ryan is 3 for 3.
And they're also an excellent rebounding team, only giving Florida 1 shot, and that's it. They out-rebound their opponents by about 6 a game, and they're a confident, cohesive unit right now, and that always helps you get off to a good start.
At McNichols Sports Arena in Denver, first-round action in the West, New Mexico and Missouri. And right now, it's the Lobos with a 10-point lead with just under 9.5 to play in the first half.
One of the better shooting teams in the country, Greg, and they've gotten off to a hot shooting start. They can knock down the 3, and they're not afraid to take it. They average about 23-point field goal attempts per game. Missouri, more of a grinded-out half-court defensive team, and they haven't gotten their star, Albert White, off yet.
Well, Missouri's grinded-out style hasn't gotten them very many good shots, or else they aren't falling, but Norm Stewart's team hitting just 24% from the floor so far. New Mexico's Kenny Thomas with 10 points and 4 rebounds so far. And the Lobos out of the whack, trying to do some damage to the Missouri Tigers. So New Mexico holding on to the lead over Missouri, and we'll move to the Orlando Arena, where first-round action in the South finds St. John's on top easily and comfortably over Samford. St. John started red hot today.
And they're really too quick for Samford. Their quickness has bothered Samford at the defensive end, especially where they've challenged every shot. Samford, a pretty good shooting team, but every shot they've taken has pretty much been under pressure.
An absolute nightmare for Samford thus far. They began this game 0 for 8 from the floor, including 0 for 7 in threes, while St. John's jumped off to a 13-0 lead 8.5 minutes into the game.
And again, I think that's in part due to the quickness of St. John's. Not many good looks for Samford, and they primarily live behind the three-point line, and when those don't fall, it's hard to get into the game.
Meanwhile, we'll take you back to Indianapolis. Murray State and Ohio State back in action. The Buckeyes lead it. Sean McDonough and Bill Raftery.
Thank you, Greg and Clark. I'm sure that Clark is watching this game with added interest. He's one of the great Buckeyes in Ohio State basketball history. There's a steal by John Sanderson just off the bench. He goes in and has a chance for a three-point play.
He took a hard shot, so maybe this is to shake him up a little bit. Didn't play as well at the end in the Big Ten tournament. Clark could do this game from the studio. He knows so much about Ohio State, and he's also big in Indiana here, being a great pacer. But the loose ball of that variety usually ends up your team not in good defensive position to give away. And what a tough fall as John Sanderson hit it hard. And Spencer continues to maybe have some difficulty with that back. He's been writhing in pain while he's out there.
Foul on Spencer is first. Free throw missed by Sanderson, the sophomore from Lexington, Ohio, Lexington High School. Murray State finds itself trailing by 11. Reese threw it away. He had a layup, but he kept going to the basket.
Sure. I know you would have shot it.
No question about that. Back to Indianapolis in a moment.
State's Isaac Spencer continues to have trouble loosening up his lower back. While he's better off playing than sitting still, he's really only about half speed. Trainer Eric Frederick told me he can probably do more for him in the locker room than he can on the sideline, such as put heat on the back. So that's probably what they'll spend halftime doing. Now let's send it back to Sean and Billy.
Well, he hasn't looked comfortable at all from the beginning of the game until now.
When you're that athletic, you have to feel perfect. He likes to elevate, block shots, run. He's a performer that I think just means everything functioning properly, and they do as well. Murray State, they're not as big inside or as talented in a sense as Ohio State under there.
How would you know if you're that athletic you have to feel perfect?
I've read about it. Obviously. Look at this guy. Great defenses down red. I mean, that you've got to get a pinch and get support. And Sylvester, and I just heard Bill Hodges, one of the assistants, hollering out, you've got to go over and help on a guy like Michael Redd. He just turns heads on defense. You've got to support. One guy can't contain him.
Marvin Gaye called for his second foul. And Michael Redd's at the line. We mentioned our good friend and colleague Clark Kellogg. Well, Michael Redd has a chance to pass Clark tonight on the Ohio State career scoring list. Redd needs 24 points tonight to pass Clark, moving in 19th place on the Buckeye list. Redd has 11 tonight, now 1,272, make it 73 for his career.
Did it in 300 less shots, too. One of the great ones. I'm only kidding, Clark. Both college and professionally. Established with the dribble here, Sean, or gets him inside baskets if possible.
Marlon Towns dribbled into a double team. Now Dwayne Virgil. He's from Trinidad, as is Marvin Gaye. Mr. Anderson has contacts in the Caribbean from his 14 years as the head coach of the U.S. Virgin Islands national team. And there's John Sanderson on the dunk, and 4 points now off the bench for the usual starter, Sanderson.
And Brian Brown did it all. You had just mentioned what Scooney Penn said about his defense. Little trap half court now.
Well, Reese, he hoisted a three. They had a couple of men underneath in a 3-on-1, but Reese said, hey, I'm open, I'm going to shoot the three, and he buried it, and Aubrey now has 7.
Well, when you're that good on your team, you can do that. That was a major basket for them. They were in deep trouble. Brown scintillating with the defensive stop on Reese. When you're not free that often, you take that.
That's the first three-pointer made by Murray. Now a steal by Reese. Scooney Penn contested, but Reese laid it in.
Nice read on the defensive end, too. Brown soft pass. Nice play to the passing lane.
Under 2 minutes left. Murray State back within 10. Aubrey Reese was first team All-Ohio Valley Conference this year and the MVP of the OVC tournament. Sanderson, who's really been slumping lately, has been instant offense off the bench.
A little Western Union to Jim O'Brien. I'm ready, coach. Play me. The old pine time wakes people up. Good front of the box.
Murray shut off by Red. Shot clock at 14. Reese traveled.
And that's the support. Brown got beat. They had to help. Murray State has to counter like that.
Coming up on Pennzoil at the half, Greg Gumbel and Clark Kellogg get you updated on all the tournament news, the scores and highlights, plus a live look in at all the action going on in the NCAA tournament. That's all coming up on Pennzoil at the half. 1 minute left in the first half here in Indianapolis. First round action of the South region. It's the 4 seed Ohio State against the number 13 seed Murray State. Penn thought about it, decided to pull the trigger and missed it. And the rebound to Rod Murray. Now Ray Cunningham. Penn out there quickly. And a foul underneath on a hold in the paint called against John Sanderson. His first.
And Jimmy is intense as ever. And a few years back, struggling at BC, got that program righted. It's amazing reaction of his team. We were lucky enough to have him in the Sweet 16 the 1 year.
He is a very popular man in Columbus for what he has done with this program. Gay made the first. Because not only has he turned it around very quickly, but he has also kind of cleaned up the program. He had 5 players who he basically asked to leave. They had been involved in a number of problems on or off the court.
And struggling on the floor. Right? 17 games in a row at one point. But he stood up for what he believed in. Now everybody is bought in, and Scooney certainly stirs it up nicely.
11-point lead to the Buckeyes. 20-second timeout called by Coach O'Brien. 4 seconds difference between the shot clock at 19 and the game clock at 23 and change. Of course, the history of Ohio State basketball is proud. Recent years have been difficult. And they've had glory days, especially back in 1960. San Francisco, the NCAA championship game against California. Jerry Lucas, Bob Knight, and John Havlicek, among others, helped lead Ohio State to its only NCAA basketball championship, 75-55.
I saw Bob cheering. I didn't see him out there playing then.
He was basically the 6th man, if I recall.
Well, you know what he said? That helped him understand subs. Now, some games you won't agree with that, but the feeling of not being in when you felt you should play. And it does help coaches, and that's why a lot of guys who want great baseball players or whatever become terrific managers.
Of course, I recall that from the history books or from people like you who are old enough to remember that. I was not alive then.
Well, Jerry Lucas, one of the great rebounders I've seen in college basketball, presented himself to the ball, and Jimmy upset. You set up in the 20 a play, and you don't get the last shot. It's not good basketball.
And they've left Murray State time for a shot here. Will this be reminiscent of Reese's tournament-winning bucket in the OVC tournament? Not this time.
And he thought he got fouled. That was not one of Reese's pieces.
And a terrific half for Michael Redd, 12 points on 5 of 9 shooting and 2 of 2 from the line. And at the half, Ohio State leads by 11. Here's Michelle.
All right, with Jim O'Brien, coach, you said coming into this game that tempo was going to favor you in this matchup. Has that been the key?
I think so. I think we're playing very well defensively. They only scored 21 points. And I do think that we're getting back. That's going to be a big factor, getting on the glass and not giving them easy baskets.
Seems like a nice big lead. What do you have to be wary of in the second half?
Well, a little bit of a letdown, but they're a pretty good team. I don't know if we can hold them to 21 points and a half again.
Coach, good luck. Thanks.
Along with Clark Kellogg, a relieved Clark Kellogg, the man from Ohio State. His Buckeyes are leading Murray State by a score of 32-21. Murray State's helping the Buckeyes out. 10 turnovers in the first half compared to 8 field goals.
That is a bad ratio any way you size it up, but Ohio State has been able to turn them over with their pressure, and then they made their last 8 out of 10 shots from the floor, did the Buckeyes.
All right, Clark. Meanwhile, St. John's, the Red Storm, seeded 3rd in the South, holding a 33-20 lead over the Bulldogs of Samford. Let's take you to the first round action in the South, to Orlando Arena. Gus Johnson and Dan Bonner.
48 seconds remaining in the first half of play. St. John's, they've led by as many as 18 as Samford got off to a horrendous shooting start. 0 for their first 8 shots. But since then, they have gotten the ball to go down. They're currently 6 of 22. Ron Artest have 11 points and 7 rebounds. And the bracket here in the South region in Orlando.
We got Indiana and George Washington coming up next. They will play the winner of this game. Creighton and Maryland advancing earlier this afternoon. That Creighton-Louisville game was really a fine one. Creighton, keep in mind, was way down in that game, down 13 in the second half, and rallied to win.
Their best player, Rodney Buford, 2 for 13 shooting in the first half. Had 9 points in the second half, and they came back to win it. Barkley, pull up, 17-footer. Rebounded by Weaver.
Gus, and I think that it would be a major accomplishment for Samford if they could get this lead down to 10 at halftime.
They like to shoot the 3. 6 to go. Weaver needs to look towards the basket. 3. Daniel from the parking lot. The tip is good. Rawlings got it to fall, and they trail by 11.
And that's got to be a little bit of a confidence booster, Gus. No, they don't get it back to 10, but they do a great job getting the tip and getting the last basket of the half. Very few offensive rebounds for Samford. Rawlings may have gotten away with a little push there, but what a fine shot.
33-22 St. John's. Now let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Gus, Dan, thanks very much. So it's an 11-point lead for St. John's. Meanwhile, first round action in the West at McNichols Arena in Denver. New Mexico and Missouri, 34-28 Lobos. Ian Eagle and Jim Spanarkel.
6-point lead. New Mexico looking to add to it. Final seconds of play here in the first half. And a foul called with 13.4 left on the clock. It has been a competitive first half of action where we have seen Kenny Thomas step forward for the New Mexico Lobos. By far his best game in an NCAA tournament game for Thomas, who has struggled in past years in this tournament.
I think Dave Bliss and company made a decision early. Let's find out what Kenny Thomas is going to do. Let's find out pretty early. They did find out. The thing that he really stepped up at the defensive end. He's putting up numbers galore at the offensive end, but defensively has really triggered some breaks with 3 blocks.
Albert White, who has really had a tough time finding his shot. He's the leading scorer for Missouri on the season, but it's been a struggle tonight for him, for the Tigers. Thomas missing on the free throw attempt, and Missouri can hold for 1, trailing by 6. 5 seconds. White will put it up. Thomas with the rebound. Ball knocked around. And time has expired here in the first half of action. New Mexico will go to the locker room with a 34-28 lead on Missouri.
So there you have it. First half action in McNichols Sports Arena in Denver. 34-28. New Mexico with the lead on Missouri. Meanwhile, in Seattle, Penn and Florida in the first half. The Quakers with a 38-28 lead on the Florida Gators. Now, as we reported earlier, the St. Paul Pioneer Press reported yesterday that a former employee in the academic counseling office at Minnesota helped basketball players with their schoolwork. The school's immediate concern was with the eligibility of 4 current players who were named in the report. Starters Miles Tarver and Kevin Clark, and their teammates Antoine Broxy and Jason Stanford. This morning, Dr. McKinley Boston, Vice President for Student Development and Athletics, announced his decision.
I spoke to Coach Haskins at length last night to discuss the allegations and the university's investigation to date. At that time, I advised Coach Haskins that the players would be declared ineligible pending the outcome of the investigation.
The Gophers couldn't overcome the loss of 4 players, and Gonzaga beat them 75-63. Afterwards, Coach Clem Haskins was asked if he thought his job was in jeopardy.
No, we got great support from the president today, and I'm very, very proud of what he said, the statement he made, and he calling me and saying, we know we have the best basketball coach in America. Run a clean program. We're glad to have you here. So I don't worry about a thing. Go coach the game, and that meant a lot to me personally.
And the Golden Gophers out after a first-round loss to Gonzaga today. 75-63 was the final score. A timeout, and then we'll return you to Indianapolis for second-half action between Ohio State and Murray State as the road to the Final Four continues.
Pennzoil at the half has been sponsored by Pennzoil, specially formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil.
Welcome back to the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. First round action in the South region between the number 4 seed Ohio State and the 13 seed Murray State. And at the half, the Buckeyes lead by 11. A moment ago, Michelle Tafoya spoke with Tavester Anderson.
Coach, it was close early, and then Isaac Spencer got injured. What's his status, and how do you slow the Buckeyes without him?
Well, right now, with Isaac Spencer out, he's going to start at the beginning of the second half. But right now, he's hurt. He has to start to see how well can he compete or not, and how bad he's injured. But if he can't go, we go with probably Marvin Gaye. It hurt us quite a bit because it cannot cut the nuke of our offense. He's a big part of our offense. If he's not playing for us, it hurt us quite a bit. But we have to stop turning the ball over as we turn it over and get more offensive rebounds.
Coach, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, Michelle.
And as Coach Anderson said, Spencer's a huge part of their team. Their leading scorer, leading rebounder.
He's got the little juice during the game, too. That's missing. The inside game, not able to. Virgil has played well, but they're not getting enough up front. It's all on the perimeter. The big thing, I think, is they got to get their running game going. Kick it out and go.
The worst half of the season for Murray State. Worst first half in terms of point total. Their lowest previous first half was 25 points against Florida State out in Hawaii, a game they lost in overtime. Jason Singleton, Michael Redd. Redd, the only player in the game in double figures in scoring. He now has 14.
How nicely does he step through and use the little kiss knockdown?
Reese to the baseline. Let's see if Spencer can shake the back injury. His first shot is long. Run down on the sideline by Rod Murray.
Scooty didn't look quick on that one either, did he, with his back troubles?
He's got a lower back injury. Told us before the game tonight it feels a lot better. Murray missed a 3. And Penn is there. Brian Brown back to Scooty Penn. Into Ken Johnson. And he was fouled on a reach-in.
Establishing that inside game early helped Ohio State. Touches with Johnson that time. Looked like he was going to make a little turn for the jump shot. That'll help the other people.
Foul on Rod Murray, his first, is going to send Ken Johnson the line for 2.
Why is it that lefties look so good when they step through? Little kiss. It's amazing. It seems to come so naturally for them.
Johnson made the first, and that's his first point. He's a relative newcomer to basketball. Didn't play basketball until he was in high school. Kind of got pressured into it because of his size. He has excellent leaping ability for his size, say the coaches, but still a work in progress.
I think the big thing, Sean, is he's got to learn how to finish, and he'll get better at that. Little pressure full, and they got to recover.
Marlon Towns, along with a jumper, and the ball caromed over the backboard. Near the conclusion of every NCAA tournament game, we'll select the Chevrolet most valuable player of the game from each team. To date, Chevrolet has contributed more than $7 million to the general scholarship funds of America's colleges and universities. Johnson wants it, takes it, and makes it.
Wow, Bob Hubriggs, not the flowing hook, former great Washington player, way before my time, therefore yours.
Owen's way before your time.
Well, what you're suggesting is I fit right in on the Murray State bench, huh? Age-wise, seasoned veterans.
Reese bumped by Brian Brown.
You don't see enough hooks. The sky hook, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not quite there, but look at the little fake with the shoulder. him back over the left shoulder and a little nylon, and that does help the little guys on the floor.
When you talk about how Johnson's a work in progress, that looked like a practiced move.
Very studied.
Yes.
What move right, move left. Part of getting quicker and smoother is doing it. Repetition.
2 shots. Aubrey Reese at the line, junior. He's from Auburn, Alabama, the hometown of Auburn University. A winner here earlier today over Winthrop. 3 for 3 from the line is Reese. Missed the second. Wasn't happy about it. Rebound, Jason Singleton.
They got to step it up now defensively. Their game is a leak-out game if they can rebound.
Murray State down by 16. They play off Singleton, but he won't take that 3.
Did you see O'Brien's signature on this team, though? The patient. That's tough when you back dribble. But they generally run a little clock unless a good one shows.
Michael Redd missed that fadeaway. Now Marlon Towns left it for Dwayne Virgil. Virgil and Gay, they're from Trinidad. You really understand their families are really encouraging them to try to stay in the United States when their collegiate days are over. The situation in this country much better than it is back home in Trinidad. Aubrey Reese with a 3. Murray State is within 13 points. Reese has 13 for the night.
And good help defensively. They're hustling a little bit now, Sean.
Towns called a timeout as he was going out of bounds.
20-second timeout, Murray State.
17.5 minutes remaining. Ohio State leads Murray State by 13. Murray State has called a 20-second timeout. This is first-round action of the South region in Indianapolis, the RCA Dome. Murray State has struggled offensively. Its worst first half of the season. And for the game, the Racers are still shooting just 32% from the floor and 55% from the free throw line. This is the first of 2 games here tonight. Later tonight, the final game of the 4 here. UCLA and Detroit. The winners meet on Saturday. The other matchup on Saturday already set. The number 1 seed Auburn pulled away from Winthrop. And Auburn will meet Oklahoma State, a winner today over Syracuse in the 8-9 game.
Very tough spot to inbound the ball down in that coffin corner. Scooney almost came up with a grab there. You get a feeling there's a little more energy with Murray State?
Yes.
The inability of Spencer with his back to dominate. Murray, not a prolific offensive player thus far tonight. That's part of their problem inside. It's going to be guard oriented unless the other guys step up. Virgil, the only one contributing down low.
Murray State 1-9 all time in the NCAA tournament. Their only win was in 1988. They beat North Carolina State, then coached by Jim Galvano. 78-75 in Lincoln, Nebraska. Then they lost the eventual national champion Kansas in the next round. Gave Kansas a good game, lost by 3. Shot rejected by Johnson, his 3rd.
He's becoming the postmaster general. Get it out of town. Now he stayed on the floor, was poised, didn't bite whatsoever, and went up just a tad after. Did not keep it in play, unfortunately, for Ohio State.
Ball inbounded to Dwayne Virgil. Look at that shot. Reese with the shot clock running out.
Smart, huh? I think he's the only one in that club that knew exactly. Shot it with 2 on the clock.
16 for Reese. He's almost single-handedly getting Murray State back into the game here. And then he bumped Penn with the chest, and that's 3 fouls on Reese.
Well, we've seen his ability to win games, get them back in games, and this one not quite as dramatic as the final in their championship, but he does have range, and he's got a little courage.
Largest lead for Ohio State was 17 points. It's down to 10. Penn trying to get it back to 13. No luck there. Rattled out. Great play by Singleton to take it away from Virgil and save it in the corner.
And that's why you like point guard. You see him drag it out.
Red shot was deflected by Virgil, out of bounds. Last touch by Brian Brown.
The ability of Scooney to recognize, you think you've got one going the other way. Nice hustle, the save, but right here, the back out, and they get a pretty good shot from Michael Redd.
Chance to get it back into single digits now for the Racers of Murray State. Reese. Air ball. And nobody back. This is a 3-on-0. Oh, Red.
Wow. He can do it with either hand or with both hands. But that's simply not reacting defensively. That set that they had a bunch of white shirts out there, Sean.
Rod Murray, the miss for Murray State. Then an air ball fired up by Marlon Towns. Finally, Singleton had possession, and the numbers favor the Buckeyes again. 40-28, Ohio State. Under 15.5 remaining in the second half.
Isaac Spencer, not even a half a player right now. He is every trip laboring. Just so hard for him to compete with his back problems.
What a shame to play all year to get to this point. Hand check called against Towns. And that's the third foul on Marlon Towns. So the starting guards, Towns and Reese, each with 3 fouls. Red's done. The Buckeyes back up by 12. Now for the data bank, Bill, I feel guilty. I gave it away.
Well, I think people like to read it. Those people who turn the sound down knowing they listened to us before.
Well, maybe I can embellish a little on the history of Murray State in the NCAA tournament. I mentioned that's their only win. Last year, they lost to the University of Rhode Island in Oklahoma City. 97, they lost to Duke. In a 3-point game in Charlotte. We've had some tough draws, all lost in the 90s to North Carolina, Arkansas, Alabama, Michigan State. They're down 12 and on the move.
So they had to play some biggies. Mark Godfrey, they left there, went to Alabama.
Ray Cunningham. Spencer trying to gut it out, banks it in from straight on, and then winces as he heads up court.
He is dying out there. Well, that kiss, he can forget about how when you have back problems and you have to play and labor at this level, very tough on you.
Reese passed it up to Red using a Penn screen. Red leans in and was lucky that the foul was on the defense because he was really leaning into that defender.
And on that last trip, unfortunately, they didn't get many inside points thus far in the game. Was one where Sylvester feels he plays like Charles Barkley, and you tell people after watching tonight, he said he's a warrior, a competitor. You didn't see that, so they missed that energy on the floor.
Red 2 for 2 from the line, 7 for 13 from the field. He now has 17 points. Murray State, they're from Murray, Kentucky, in the western part of Kentucky. About 45 minutes from Paducah, they tell us. 0-1 this year. First the teams in the tournament, and a foul in the rebounding action against Ohio State's George Reese. 2 fouls on the team, 2 personals on Reese.
And right now, Sean, they're hanging around Murray State. It's a matter of adjusting, getting a comfort zone on the offensive end, but more importantly, screening off and maybe getting a turnover to a basket from their defense. Good hands. And a leak out.
And it's Red. Oh, what a pass to Johnson for the dunk.
That's why you run the floor, big guy. Send it in, big fella. Set up by the D, though, and that's something that when you watch O'Brien over the years, it's a subtle persuasion. Play up on you, make it tough on the bounce, get a hand in the passing lane.
The lead back up to 13 for the Buckeyes. Under 14 minutes left. Foul, count it. Chance for 3 for Isaac Spencer.
He's trying to close out the pain, the agony, the difficulty, and take advantage. But Sanderson getting down and dirty in the passing lane, just solid play. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Oh. And then the counter at the other end. Get it into the big guy, let him do some damage. Savovich, pardon me, was the guy in the passing lane with the contribution. Everybody better play that end.
Spencer 0 for 1 from the line. Has that one to finish the 3-point play and get the deficit back to 10 for Murray State. 7 points for Isaac Spencer. He had a big game in their NCAA loss last year to Rhode Island. 18 points and 12 rebounds. Savovich with a big 3.
And that's just too easy. A little flare screen to the sideline.
6 points for Boban Savovich. He's been bothered by a right ankle injury lately. Foul, a little too frisky, was Jason Singleton.
Now you mentioned the recruiting next year, some outstanding performers. Well, how about this one? The ability to use the flare, space out, and make deep nylon strokes. Does that make you feel pretty good? Ooh, he is solid. Defensive play and then stroking it deep.
Murray short with the 3. Spencer much more active here in the last few minutes. Reese thought about a long 3. Spencer, good reach in by Penn to poke it away. Nice ball movement. Virgil missed the open baseline jumper. Penn, a nice job.
Making numbers.
Savovich trying to avoid the contact. A wild shot. Red there to aid Savovich.
And that was just terrific by Penn. Finding and then Red filling ends up the beneficiary.
19 now for Michael Red, who scored 500 points or more in each of his first 2 seasons. He is a sophomore. The only player in Ohio State history to score 500 points in 3 seasons is Jerry Lucas. Virgil missed the putback. Another tip wouldn't go. And they're having success on the league-out. Singleton, a hard foul. Spencer goes right to him. Foul on Spencer. That's his second. Look at the tournament summary. The Big Ten, 7 teams in the tournament. They're 1-1 today. Iowa won. Minnesota lost. Meanwhile, the SEC is 2-0 with Auburn and Arkansas victorious. And 3 lower-seeded teams won games against better seeds. Gonzaga, Creighton, and Oklahoma State. The 9 seed beat number 8 Syracuse here today.
And Penn and Florida are playing, so one of their clubs having a little difficulty.
The Gators trailing the Quakers at the half. Out west. They're playing that game in Seattle. Singleton. And all of a sudden, the lead is back to 17 for Ohio State. The largest lead enjoyed tonight by the Buckeyes.
Ohio State with a 50-33 lead early in the second half. This in the South region. We'll keep that at the bottom of your page and tell you right now what's happening out in Denver, New Mexico, and Missouri. Clark.
All tied up right now. Keon Dooley in the open court. And Missouri, actually that's Gilbert who finished on that transition break. But Missouri started the second half with an 11-0 run to take the lead, and now it's tight back and forth.
We talked earlier about how Albert White had trouble getting started for Missouri. He now has 13 points and 11 rebounds. He's going to be key to whatever they can accomplish tonight.
He really is. He's a guy that looks to make big plays when the game is close, and he's got the ability to do it. He can shoot outside. He's a powerful inside player, and he can go get his own shot.
Missouri needs to get to the free throw line. They have yet to attempt a free throw in this game tonight, Clark.
But their defense has been solid, especially to start the second half.
12:44 to play. Missouri with a 41-39 lead on the Lobos. Meanwhile, let's check in at the Orlando Arena, where Samford and St. John's are doing battle, and the Red Storm with the lead at 45-30 and 13:30 to play.
St. John's continues to make it tough for Samford to get good looks at the basket. Too much quickness defensively, keeping Samford on the perimeter. Not a lot happening inside. Until there, the sweeping hook.
That's a rare two-point field goal by Samford, which has just shot the lights out from behind the three-point line. Remember, early in this game, St. John's jumped off to a 13-0 lead. Samford played them to a standstill since then.
Well, that's not good enough if you get skunked to start off. But again, Samford, because of their ability to shoot the ball, if they can get just a little bit inside, it'll open up their perimeter game, and they might have a chance to make this close. St. John's has struggled all year long holding on the leads.
St. John's looking for its first tournament win in 6 years. Now let's move to Key Arena in Seattle. Penn and Florida. And right now the Quakers with a 44-35 lead. Talk about shooting threes. Pennsylvania's done it tonight.
Both of these teams are very, very good three-point shooting teams. This has been a highly entertaining game. And Penn has controlled it from the start because of their marksmanship from behind the three-point line.
65% on 11 of 17 from behind the line. And Jed Ryan leads the way. He's 6 of 7 for 3.
And he's already doubled his season average. He had 22 at the half. He only averages 11 on the season.
So we'll keep you up to date on those scores. Right now, let's return you to the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. Murray State and Ohio State. Sean McDonough and Bill Rafter.
Thank you very much, Greg and Clark. You look at that St. John's team doing so well, can't help but think of the man sitting right across the court from us who's been doing the radio from these regional sites, Fran Paschilla, the coach who put together that team and turned the St. John's program around. I thought got a real bad deal leaving St. John's, but from what we understand, a lot of vacancies popping up, and his name's coming up for just about all of them.
And as bad as you thought it wasn't, I agree with you. Mike Jarvis handled it beautifully. One thing now Murray State was able to do was run the floor one trip. They've been able to stop and go the other way. When they're running their half court, Ohio State's been denying, forcing catches out wider, doing a great job checking out.
There's Fran Paschilla. Man, who turned that St. John's program around, left some great. They might be talking to athletic directors right now.
The AD's calling them.
Nice pass from Towns. Oh my goodness! Towns to Page. He missed it. They waved off that basket.
Oh God! My goodness! Please. Most mere mortals aren't used to seeing that.
Wow.
If he fouled, it was on the way down. Oh my goodness. Well, there's some bumps, but oh, that was pretty.
Ray Cunningham. Ah, wow. That's
he
terrible.
Can elevate. It was clean up top. Oh, the bench all in support. Lester with great composure over there. Jim Hatfield standing up as well, supporting their guy. He can certainly score. Oh.
Singleton at the line.
Send Singleton to the line. What a turnaround. Racers over the limit, so Singleton makes the front end of a 1-and-1. You mentioned earlier the experience on that bench. Not only Anderson at age 62, but there's Bill Hodges. This is his first time in an NCAA tournament game since he led Indiana State to the national championship game in 1979 as the head coach for Larry Bird and company when they lost to Magic Johnson and Michigan State in that memorable final. Bill's bounced around but has not been back to the NCAA tournament since. Last year he was teaching and coaching high school basketball in Fort Myers, Florida. And when Anderson got the job, he decided to ask Bill Hodges to come as an assistant.
He looks great. And by the way, so they only take the job if you can wear a sweater.
That's
you
right.
want to wear a coat and tie and plays golf on Sunday. And the book said he was 47.
No, he's 56.
Well, before the game I went over, I said Larry Bird is 47.
How about the socks? Do they match the sweater? Look at that.
Once you get over 50, who's counting or who's looking?
He's got the stripes and the stripes.
It's been a happy staff. They hung tough, won their tournament.
Well,
And he's still talking about,
happy.
I think he's still talking about Cunningham's jam.
Yeah, I would be
follow.
too. Jim Hatfield, the other assistant over there on the bench, another first-year assistant, real veteran. He hasn't been to the tournament. There's Jim since 1985 when he was an assistant at Joby Hall at Kentucky. Been out of Division I coaching for 13 years. Was coach and athletic director at the University of the Virgin Islands the last 3 years. Former head coach at Mississippi State. Once led the Bulldogs to a number 13 national rankings. A lot of experience on that staff. And Chris Willard is a young assistant, the other assistant on that staff who came from UCLA.
and stayed when Mark Godfrey left. There's Chris, so they have a real nice blend.
They say Chris is the driver. He goes in and scouts and then waves them in.
Well, yesterday, Sylvester had Chris Willard with him everywhere he went. He said, this is my right-hand man right here. He's really a very important man, a bright young coach.
They had the AD in St. Louis as well, who's in the
Maybe
middle
that's
of
who
the job search.
was talking to.
Well, I've heard that name.
Under 10 minutes left. Ohio State leads by 16. Ray Cunningham pulled down the rebound and dribbled all the way to the arc himself. Towns open. They need it. They get it.
Now extending the floor, but in a reasonable fashion. I don't think they can sell out by that gamble trap and give up passes over the top, but they don't. This is solid. Now stay at home defense, check out, see if you can get a run out.
The first points of the game for Towns. Red, a tip of his own miss, that tipped out to Towns. Cunningham from the elbow, short. Singleton rebounded and alertly gave it to Scooney Penn. Salem Mets.
I'm sorry, John. What an advantage having a guy that runs the show and knows what he's doing for a coach.
Johnson's shot long, saved along the end line by Virgil. Ahead of the pack is Floyd. Towns for three. Good.
They like to run. Thus the name Racers.
And a timeout called by Ohio State. It's a 20 as Murray State has cut the deficit to 10 with 8.5 remaining.
Well, this is one of those that is he on the end line or is he not? Good composure as Floyd gathers himself, kicks it out. And when these go, this is a different outlook on this club. We mentioned Isaac Spencer unable to provide that energy because of his physical problems, but solid D and runouts.
An 8-1 run for Murray State to get back within 10. They break the huddle with Reese, Floyd, Towns, Murray, and Gay. For Ohio State, Brian Brown will play it in with Penn, Red, Singleton, and Johnson. And another timeout called as Brown couldn't get it in.
Isn't that amazing? The ebb and flow of a college game. That's the first time it's been all out on the ball. Everybody denying. And Jim O'Brien not real happy. I think what he's suggesting is he's over the end line. That reminds you of an old BC guy, Tom Davis. This guy's used to scan the ball, step out of bounds, be in your drawers. Iowa to see big pressure on the inbounder.
What an experience for Jim O'Brien. Coached for 11 years at his alma mater, a school he loved, Boston College, in a city that he still loves. And then things came apart, problems in his relationships with people in the athletic director's office and in the admissions department. So he leaves and goes to Columbus, where he knows virtually nobody. Struggles through the first year. With friends and family really in Boston, he's virtually alone with the exception of his staff. And now he's the toast of the town. He's settled in, very happy there.
And they've settled in.
Singleton has 7 points.
And last year was not an easy year to be the coach. I mean, it changes with the losing streak, the dismissal of players, and yet he was going to do it his way. And I think that's the comfort of having gone through that at Boston College. Coach of the year in the Big East, the Atlantic 10, when he was at Bonnie's, and in the Big Ten, he just brings home the trophies.
Big Ten Coach of the Year this year was Jim O'Brien. Reese thrown down the lane and fouled. And the future is bright for Ohio State. Just 2 seniors on the team. The 2 who were not asked to leave but decided to tough it out. Jason Singleton's one of them, and Deshaun Coleman the other. So they'll have a good team again. They have a beautiful new arena, Value City Arena. Seats more than 19,000.
52 suites, Sean, over $110 million. That's in euros.
Reese now 4 out of 5 from the line. Emmy Award winner John LaRoquette returns to television as Royal Payne, an innkeeper with attitude. That was going to be a color commentator with attitude. Don't miss the series premiere of Payne Monday after Raymond on CBS.
We've had both this trip. Making free throws. It's his defense set.
10 rebounds tonight for Jason Singleton of Ohio State. Lead 11. Penn drives. Singleton couldn't tip it in. Towns the push for the Racers.
Good judgment right now.
Towns a miss. Towns in the corner. Did he get a timeout? No, he was out of bounds. 7:24 remaining. It's Ohio State 53, Murray State 42.
When you think of Spencer, how are they hanging in here at 11 points? The guards are doing a wonderful job. Defensively, they got to step up now, and they love to run the ball, Sean. It's a matter of getting Ohio State's misses and going the other way.
Ryan Brown plays it in to George Reese. And now Michael Redd. Gave it back to Brown. Scooney Penn. The other Buckeye on the court is Ken Johnson.
A little weave out of the old days, huh?
Redd had it blocked. As Virgil came over and said, get that out of here.
And Jim O'Brien asking John Cal to have them get that out of there as well. He thought he got banged all the way around the horn.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. Jim O'Brien appeared to be the intended receiver on that pass. He just goes and takes a seat. He can't believe what he just saw there.
Great composure. He knows that his point guard makes very few mistakes, but that one going to the hole, and they expected it to the corner. Scooney threw it right out of bounds.
Buckeye fans looking for a 5 count. St. John still in control against Samford. New Mexico and Missouri have had a real battle going. 8 minutes left. The Lobos by 3, and Florida is inching closer to Penn near the midpoint of the second half. Now the finals from earlier today. I do have word, by the way, Bill, from Denver, that Jim Calhoun, the Connecticut coach, will not coach the Huskies tonight against UT San Antonio, as he's come down with the flu, and associate head coach Dave Lato will coach.
Put a little pressure on Dave in the opening round, huh?
He has head coaching experience at Northeastern University.
And hopefully Jim Calhoun will feel well before the weekend's out.
And I believe he might have coached the game earlier this year, as I recall.
Yes, I think you're right.
Calhoun missed the game earlier in the year.
Johnson with a good contesting of the shot. Unfortunately, out of bounds. George Reese.
He was on the end line. 6:45 left. Ohio State by 11. 10 turnovers now committed by the Buckeyes. Towns missed the baseline 3, rebounded by Brian Brown, the freshman from Brooklyn, New York, out of Bishop Laughlin, who was very solid in the Big Ten tournament. Averaged 8.5 points, 3.5 assists for Jim O'Brien.
Bob Flecky was his high school coach, former great at St. Peter's. But you think of Murray State, do they have the legs, Sean? And do they have somebody who can stop? Michael Redd takes a hit, keeps on ticking in the lane.
21 now for Redd, 3 away from passing the immortal Clark Kellogg on the all-time Buckeye scoring list.
Clark will not be the same. That pleasant guy, a little trip on the way in.
I mean, that drops Clark down to 20th when that happens, and then one more guy past him, he's out of the top 20. CBS Sportsline stat of the game, points in the paint. Ohio State with a 20-point edge there. For complete tournament coverage, go to cbs.sportsline.com.
And Sean, I would say this, if Clark had the ball as much as Michael Redd, think of it, because he usually was set up, popping out, making his jump shots. And Michael's got a touch. Scooney makes sure he gets plenty of touches during the course of a game.
And Michael Redd's going to pass a lot of great players. Reese made the first free throw, 18 for Aubrey. 5 out of 7 from the line, but other key players for them aren't getting it done tonight. Spencer with the back trouble 7. And you mentioned a moment ago, Rod Murray, who averages 12.7 points per game, has 0 tonight. 0 for 7 from the floor.
And right now, let's see what kind of legs they have, Sean. The inbounder being played and a little slippage.
Hodges, the assistant, handles the defense for Murray. Jim Hatfield works on the offense. Willard helps out on both. They almost do it like a football staff with offensive and defensive coordinators.
One of the great stories coming out of this tournament, for me at least, Sylvester was down in a high school, Rogers High School, Mississippi, and he played he coached and arranged the first black-white game. And it cleared the air. It proved to people that blacks could play and compete against whites, and people could enjoy the game without any problem. So he's more than just a guy who sat there as an assistant, learned the game, and now getting an opportunity. Gets his team in the tournament. What a beginning for him.
He won 2 state championships in Mississippi as a high school coach, then coached high school in Georgia and won 2 more. Brian Brown made both free throws. The foul was on Virgil, his second. And the team's 9th, so it's double bonus the rest of the way now for Ohio State. Towns from the elbow.
And nicely won. Now those screen away on the block and then a screen away out top.
Brown handling the pressure well. Stopped his dribble in a tough spot, then got it to Scooty Penn. Penn a step back 3. Pulled down by Virgil. So now they have a chance to get the deficit into single digits.
And they ran it off a set play. See if they do something concrete.
Foul called on Brian Brown.
That's his 3rd.
3 fouls, and that's 10 on the Buckeyes. So it's a double bonus, and Murray will shoot 2 the rest of the way.
Inside they had screened, outside they screened, got the open look. If they could ever get a touch on the box and get themselves in a scoring position or to the free throw line, making the next one now gives them a chance to set up a coaching situation.
20 points for Reese as he made the first free throw. George Reese goes out for Ohio State. Brian Brown goes out as well. Sabovich, Singleton back in. 8 of 10 from the line, Aubrey Reese. And it is a single-digit deficit facing the Racers from Murray, Kentucky. Tough pass by Penn and a great catch by Singleton on the sideline.
And with Floyd over Penn, that's the only pass he had, really. The size, didn't have the vision.
Johnson. Foul by Virgil. And that's 3 on Dwayne Virgil.
He wasn't happy with it, but you could see the size difference there. The turnaround. Ken Johnson in good offensive position.
And from what they tell us, an excellent piano player. He and Will Dudley, a freshman who's out with a broken bone in his foot, have been playing the piano on Buckeye road trips.
Brought a smile to Jim O'Brien up in Michigan, I'm told.
Yes, playing the piano at a restaurant in which they're having dinner in Michigan. Out of bounds. It'll be Murray State ball. So nothing at the line that trip for the Buckeyes. And a chance to inch closer.
And interesting at 5. They're now moving up the floor, putting a little more pressure. See if they can churn Murray State into a mistake.
Tough pass. Towns hit the floor. Buckeye fans want to travel.
I say a loose ball.
And then Ohio State reached in to tie him up, so the ball goes to the Buckeyes. I hope they change that rule next year.
You know what? Actually, the possession arrow was going the other way, so what they're saying is it was a defensive play. So I mean, that's how confusing that rule can be. At first, I thought John Cow was going loose, and then he adjusted it, so it is going to be a defensive play.
It was. That's what I thought it was. Originally, they had possession to Towns there, and then they reached in to tie him up, so that's why it went over to Ohio State. Whistle away from the ball. Murray called for delivering a forearm.
Murray,
His second foul. They're into the double bonus now both ways. A lot of free throws shot the rest of the way.
And Sean, people walking around for Murray State, cramps. Towns holding the side of his hip. Down the stretch, they don't have the bench strength, and they haven't had the ability inside. Isaac Spencer on the pines for quite a while now with his back troubles.
One weakness of Red's game, free throw shooting. He got a favorable bounce there, but he's just 62% for the year. 4 out of 7 now tonight.
If you remember, Jimmy was saying he's got to improve his perimeter. If there's any shortcoming, get better at it. That's part of that stroke.
2 free throws by Red. The lead back into double digits, and Towns really limping on the left of your screen as Murray State comes into its half-court offense. He might be cramping up. And maybe he's hurt from that spill he took trying to grab that loose ball. When he went sliding on the floor and they reached in to tie him up, and he limped to the bench as Murray calls a timeout.
They're going to switch it and say no timeout, and they're going to, for the injured player, they're saying no timeout.
And Towns will go out. So they do not charge a timeout to Murray State. And the Racers will play it into 17 on the shot clock. 4:32 left in the second half. Aaron Page is in, a junior from Austin, Texas, number 20. With the ball now to Murray.
That's the zone.
Good hands by Scooty Penn.
Oh, you didn't need that.
Out of bounds, last touch by Virgil. Jim O'Brien wanted to foul as Red got decked right at midcourt on the sideline.
I think Jimmy should be happy to have the ball after that outlet pass. That's where you have plenty of people to hand it to. Well, you want it all when you're on the sidelines.
Savovich. This pass deflected by Page. 4:05 left.
Impressed with Murray State stepping up defensively. They have well scouted Ohio State. That was a back cut on the wing.
Red powered in, but then missed the short one, and Murray pulled it down. Reese, a long three, long with the shot. The ball wound up back in the hands of Reese, and he rattled it in.
Well, they hang tough to two guards. Pounds out right now, but Reese pretty solid.
Reese has 23 of the 50 Murray State points. Virgil went for a steal and got called for a foul, and now he's in danger. 4 personal, 1 from elimination.
Well, Audrey, one of the things coming into a tournament like this, you wonder, he's got to play Scooty Penn, how he's going to react. But the hustle, the determination, the aggressive nature, he's a winner. We've seen him make big shots as Aubrey Reese once again follows and does some damage.
Ken Johnson made the free throw. 7 points for Ken, 3 out of 5 from the line, better than a season average of 45%. 2 free throws by Johnson. Lead back to 11 for the Buckeyes with 3:39 remaining in Indianapolis.
Right here, though, Sean. Very important trip for them.
3.5 left. Page missed a 3 and got it back.
Well, he's known as a good shooter. Broke his hand and trying to get back into form, and they get a little inside opportunity, and Murray gets to the line.
And with a chance to get in the score sheet. Rod Murray, no points today. 0 for 7. Coming up next, the final game of the quadruple header. 9:57 for the tip times for Detroit and UCLA. George Washington, Indiana. 10:07 for Texas, San Antonio, and UConn. The other game out west tonight is Weber State and North Carolina.
I think they're going to start gambling a little bit. I know they've been pressing, but maybe a hole in the middle of the floor, the rotating guy. Take a shot at playing the passing lane. Here's the trap. And Page has got to come up.
Kick and a reset of the shot clock just puts 4 seconds back on.
So I don't think Scooty looked real quick tonight.
No.
Not quite the explosiveness we're accustomed to. Home run. Push off. Oh, come on. You got to see that.
That's terrible.
Oh, my goodness. Jimmy O'Brien's looking at us shaking his head, even though it should have been against his guy. Well,
I don't know how you could miss that. About 30,000 people here in the Dome all saw him, went ooh and ah. Push off. Cleared him. A little bit offensive pass interference from the Indianapolis Colts playing this building. Now a blocking foul called on Singleton.
out in this open area, this one, This is better than any tavern league in America. You'd call this one. Now, there's a discard and the catch.
You see Reese waving his arm. Come on.
And the only excuse I can give is the lead official is turning to run to get into position. That is utterly incredible. You couldn't call it a foul unless it was a game winner in the playground. But in NCAA basketball, you got to give it to him.
Reese, well above his season average, 24 points. Missed the second. It's a 10-point game. Just under 3 minutes left. Ohio State by 10. Reese up on Penn. Sabovich, Page guarding him.
See that little wave and the back cut out of it, Trevor. Look at the middle of it. He loves that lane, Michael Red.
Penn, nice pass. Singleton fouled on the baseline. And he'll shoot a pair. First foul on Floyd. Saturday on CBS, the LAPD's dream team hits the road to expose the mob. Samo and Arsenio could get caught in the crunch. An all-new martial law Saturday on CBS. Singleton makes the first free throw.
Sean, he's been solid during the course of the game. Early on, made a couple of buckets in a row. Even there, finding a lane, turning, didn't squeeze it and go up quickly. But you can see he understands how to play with the perimeter people.
Now 4 out of 6 from the line with that miss. Virgil the rebound. Murray. Wow. Way off from three-point range, and the leak out. Red all alone, and he's fouled.
That's happened too often.
Yes.
They have attacked the rim and not gotten the proper rotation back. Murray State to protect the backcourt. That's one of the essentials in team defense.
And 5 fouls on Dwayne Virgil. Fouling out of what looks like will be his last game at Murray State.
Craig Gumbel in New York, 64-53. Ohio State with the lead on Murray State right now. Let's switch you over to McNichols Sports Arena in Denver, where Missouri trails New Mexico by 4. Ian Eagle and Jim Spanarkel are there.
Kenny Thomas fouled on the interior with 2:01 remaining, second half. New Mexico owns a 3-point lead. Thomas with a chance to add to it at the free throw line. Been a close game throughout the second half of action. New Mexico came out of the block in a hurry, but they have cooled down quite a bit offensively. Neither team has shot the ball well here today, but it is a tight one in the 8-9 matchup.
And Thomas came out quickly in that first half. The Tigers adjusted a little bit, have done a much better job on him down the stretch, in particular Harge, a big guy who has really stopped him down deep.
We got one shot. Wait for the release.
Kenny Thomas having by far his best NCAA tournament game. This is the 7th of his career. Second free throw. He can extend the lead, and does. 59-54, New Mexico. 2 minutes to play from Denver.
Tigers have to make good decisions. Let's see if they can find White and let him go to work.
This is White. Albert White getting to the bucket. Davis got a piece from behind. New Mexico comes away with it. Henry ahead of the field.
What a play to keep it alive.
Albert White got back defensively. Brower fires it inside. Harge turns, gets the bucket and a foul.
Albert White has struggled a little bit at the offensive end, but here he keeps his team alive with a terrific block down the other end. Harge takes the shot. Look at Davis. He gets popped. He's playing pretty good defense, good position. The big man size at over 300 pounds clears away to the basket.
335 pounds to be exact. Monty Harge, 9 points, 8 rebounds, a 43% free throw shooter. His team is down by 3. Soft touch from the line. This is a 2-point game.
A good screen. Is he moving though? Oh, he moved the arm.
Stops the clock with 1:31 to play in the second half. 59-57. New Mexico with the advantage. 2-point lead for the Lobos. Kenny Thomas has just fouled out with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 block shots. He has been the go-to guy all season long for the Lobos, and they will have to go the final minute 31 without Thomas, one of the elite players in the nation.
Thomas takes a chance. Watch the right arm. He moves it slightly, but the official is standing right on top of him and made the call.
Thomas will watch from the sidelines. We've got a timeout. 59-57. New Mexico clinging. The lead, a minute 31 left here in the second half. Kenny Thomas has fouled out with 20 points and 10 rebounds in what may be his final collegiate game, unless New Mexico can hold on. Free throw for Doolin. The freshman cuts the New Mexico lead to 1.
Smooth at the line for the first shot.
Only the 3rd point of the night for Keon Doolin. He can make it 4, and does. 2 picture-perfect free throws, and we are tied at 59.
Dealing with a little bit of pressure with 1:30 to go.
Another freshman, John Robinson. Doolin took it away. Doolin on the penetration. Right went for the jam follow, and it's rebounded by Henry.
What a regroup also by New Mexico to get back and get that basketball after the missed dunk.
Coming up on 1 minute to play. 59 apiece.
Patience and good looks.
Henry a 3. No good.
I don't think that's a good look in this situation. Drifting away from the basket from long, long range.
Down to 54 seconds left. Keon Doolin, freshman out of Fort Lauderdale, running the show for Missouri.
When will White touch the basketball? I got to believe it's either going to go to Harge on the blocks with a kick out.
Doolin trying to give his team the lead. It rims out. Davis the rebound.
2 tough decisions at both ends of the floor.
Shot clock has been turned off, and Dave Bliss wants to have a chat with his team. Timeout, 28.6 seconds left. We're knotted up at 59 apiece in Denver. Has lived up to what an 8-9 matchup should be. Missouri had an opportunity to take the lead.
Well, Doolin came up with the basketball, attacked. He had his shoulders ahead also, but the pursuit by New Mexico, Walker getting a hand on it, a missed opportunity. And then Henry coming back to regain the possession.
Shot clock has been turned off. Kenny Thomas forced to watch from the sidelines.
2 schools of thought right here. New Mexico should walk off the floor, worst case, with an overtime here, but Missouri has to pressure the basketball. I don't think you let it go down without pressure in the perimeter.
New Mexico 6-0 in games decided by 2 points or less this season. Final 15 seconds, tied at 59.
New Mexico probably goes around 5 seconds or so towards the basket.
Long with 8, makes his move. Long, short jumper, got it! Down to 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Brower will throw it up. It was blocked. Walker got a piece. And New Mexico has survived. The Lobos move on to the second round in a tight one over Missouri, 61-59. Dave Bliss and the New Mexico Lobos, for the 4th consecutive year, have advanced to at least the second round of the NCAA tournament.
A terrific drive by Long down. Look at the hang time. Actually shoots that basketball on the way down. Still plenty of time. The Tigers had a timeout. And there's the reaction by Thomas. He's standing and watching.
Missouri did have one final attempt. Ryan Brower from 3-point range for the win. And Walker getting a piece. Norm Stewart, 32 years he's been at this. This is his reaction. And that's it. Once again, the final from Denver. New Mexico for the 61-59 victory over Missouri. And the Lobos advance to the second round, where they will meet The winner of the UConn-Texas San Antonio matchup. That's coming up next here at McNichols Sports Arena. Our Chevrolet players of the game. Kenny Thomas, 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Albert White, 16 points and 12 rebounds in a losing effort. Lamont Long, they call him Froggy. He can get up in the air. Long needed that hang time for the short jump shot. He actually shot it on the way down, and that's a winner.
Well, Horge stepped in his path. The great concentration down the stretch. Well coached, well executed. You want to be shooting that ball with about 5 or under. Did not allow the Tigers to come down the other end of the floor and get a good look. They were pressured the entire way. A great reaction defensively also by New Mexico.
61-59, New Mexico has knocked off Missouri in first-round action from the West region. It was a close one throughout, but the Lobos move on. They're going to the second round. Kenny Thomas, he lives to see another day here in the NCAA tournament. Let's go to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Ian, we'll take you back now to Seattle, to Key Arena, where Pennsylvania has managed just 10 points in the second half. They trail Florida. Let's rejoin Kevin Harlan and John Sunvor.
Another free throw made by Shannon. 2.5 remaining in this second half. Number 6 seed Florida leading the 11th seed Penn Quakers from the Ivy League, 66-53. Lango losing the ball. And that typifies the kind of half it has been for the Penn Quakers, who led by 13 points at one time in the first half, led by 11 at halftime. But they shot 18% in the second half and have been outscored 32-10 in the second half. The Gators look to advance under Coach Billy Donovan. Timeout. After a terrific first half in which the Quakers hit 11 three-point shots, a riveting performance. They have come out and gone so flat in the second half shooting, and thus trail 66-53.
Well, simply 18% leads to a lot of missed opportunity and missed shots, and the rebounds Florida has taken care of that department. The second half has been 0 for Penn.
Michael Jordan puts in a three-point shot. He's got 15. Michael Jordan, the best player on this Penn Quaker team, as Teddy Dupay goes the other way, looking for Stolt, not as Shannon, and to right in the final 2 minutes.
Kevin, you think about this ball game. Jed Ryan had 22 the first half for Penn. Matt Langle had 14. They combined only missed 1 jump shot between them. 10 of 11 from three-point land. The second half, neither one has scored. So Billy Donovan's ball club at halftime went in and said, we'll get to their shooters, make them put it on the floor. They did that. They forced turnovers, and offensively, Donovan's ball club simply threw it inside, and their force was too tough. Owens and romantic foul out for Penn, and it's been totally domination.
So Shannon puts it in, and that's all you see on the sideline now. And the hopes were so high at halftime with a 43-32 Penn Quaker lead.
Shot 56% from the field, 65 from three-point land, and put on quite a show for all the people here in Seattle.
Great coaching by Donovan. Jordan in the lane, floats and fires. Out of bounds. The Quakers will get another try with 1:44 to play.
And I think another key for that man's ball club was the fact Eddie Shannon picks up his 4th personal. Then freshman Teddy Dupay came in and kept the pressure offensively on Penn. Penn had to get back. Teddy Dupay hit a couple shots, delivered a couple good passes, and got his team on the roll.
Plummer with another 3, and suddenly it's a 9-point game.
And we know they can score in a hurry because they did that the first half.
How much is left in the tank as Mike Miller, the great freshman from South Dakota, checks back in. Full court pressure. Goes to Shannon. And then he's whacked by Jordan. That's 5, and he's gone. The 3rd Quaker to foul out.
The 3rd starting Quaker to foul out. 2 big men inside, and now their quarterback on the floor. Michael Jordan frustrated. Here's the trap in the corner. Boy, what a call. Like Eddie Shannon had nowhere to go. Michael Jordan actually was turning his back, going the other way. There's a frustration by Paul Romancic on his face.
There's number 23, Michael Jordan, fouling out. Yes, he has met the real, or the other Michael Jordan. He was named this Michael Jordan after a cousin. Came in as the leading scorer, leading assist man, leading thief, led the team in steals. Eddie Shannon picks it up at the free throw line. Quakers came in champions of the Ivy League. They won by an average of 20 points every Ivy League game. The Gators came in an at-large berth with a record of 20 up and 8 down.
And now you have to push and really look for open shots, but there has not been many against this Gator team in the second half.
New Mexico with a nice win over the Missouri Tigers. St. John's with the win over Samford. Ryan had it knocked away. And Wright picks it up. Ohio State with the win over Murray State. Here in Seattle, we have had two great games before this one, as Minnesota, depleted by all kinds of problems off the court, gone with the starters, lost to Gonzaga.
And Gonzaga had a hot hand that first half, 8 of 11 from threes. Richie Fromm hit 4 of 4, his first 4 of the ball game. Terrific ball game by Gonzaga, and they'll meet Stanford.
Stanford beat Alcorn State 69-57, but that was a scare too for the Cardinal Final Four team from a season ago.
Well, an interesting scare because they built such a big lead and looked so good the first half. And then totally came unraveled the second half and looked disinterested for a while until that ball game got tied.
25-point turnaround in this game. Plummer for 3. Stone yanks it off the glass. A minute to play. Florida looks to advance to the second round. They will play the winner of North Carolina Weber State, which is on deck.
Kevin Florida known running and gunning. But this second half, I thought it was more of pushing the ball and putting it inside and using their power to win a ball game instead of long jump shots.
We're talking about running and gunning as the foul is called on Lamar Plummer. We're not talking about Steve Spurrier's football Gators.
Exactly right.
We're talking about Billy Donovan, who has invigorated this program, and they're going to move on. Chevrolet most valuable players of the game, Jed Ryan of Pennsylvania, Mike Miller of Florida. Chevrolet will make a contribution to each school's general scholarship fund to reward outstanding students for their academic achievements and to assist those in financial need. That is the worst part of this tournament. It is so sucky. When you lose, it is truly over.
Especially this Penn team. Boy, did they have some kind of first half and have these people in Key Arena in Seattle just ignited by the way they're shooting the basketball.
The ultimate tease. Langle drives, the reverse will drop. Pretty play. The second time he's done that tonight.
And then his first 2 for the second half.
73-61. Right the other way. Gators making their first tournament appearance since 1995. Same with Pennsylvania. Weeks to right, and that'll put the polish on a good-looking Florida Gator 14-point win. Final is in. The Gators win it. 75-61. Billy Donovan gets his first win in the NCAA tournament as a head coach. So Florida will now play the winner of 3-seed North Carolina and 14-seed Weber State. So now for John Sumbold and Mike Harris, Kevin Harlan saying so long. Florida wins by 14. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports, home of the men's NCAA basketball championship.